Technical issues during the broadcast, please call the Oregon Studio Hotline at 336-831-0864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Duck's gonna pick it up, and here we go. Got him deep. He's open. He's got it. He's gone. How about that? Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
Duarte pulls up, 3-ball. Bang!
LJ Figueroa!
Oregon goes back-to-back for the fourth time in the last 6 years. The Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
Foley three. Goal! Foley ball. Three is good. Savali. Wing, pow. Yeah, boom.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
What a weekend.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Oh, man, it is a good day today. I'm Joey Mack. Thanks for being with us. Before we even opened the show, David with great comments. And, man, this just brings joy to your life, doesn't it? He says, we love Joey Mack for president. My question is, president of what? Because man, there's a lot to unpack there depending on what you're going to be the president of. Thanks for the comments, though, everybody. Always appreciate the interaction. We got a lot to talk about today, as Rob Mosley will join us in a little while. Rob and I are going to cover a number of different topics, including track and field, softball, volleyball, baseball, more track and field, because the Ducks just continue to roll in. Well, frankly, a lot of different awards. We're going to talk about that. Also, I'm really excited today. Jordan Brenner, the voice of Oregon softball. We actually talked with him yesterday afternoon because he is traveling today to meet Oregon softball out in Austin ahead of the 4:30 game tomorrow. You can watch on ESPN3. You can also tune in via the Oregon Sports Network and KWVA. Jordan's been the voice of the Oregon softball team for 1+ years now. Sports director at KWVA, the student radio station. Of course, I used to work at the student radio station here at Oregon. It's some of my favorite memories, and Jordan and I have talked a lot about that. We're going to talk with him on the show today. It's going to be a lot of fun catching up with Jordan Brenner before he has the call for you on the radio side of things for us on the Oregon Sports Network and on the student radio station KWVA coming up tomorrow at 4:30. Big news today. Concessions are back at PK Park. Yes! It's starting to get closer and closer to normal. John Sargent, the man in charge of concessions here at the University of Oregon, and the man who I fondly will never forget getting ice cream on his microphone. One of the funniest segments we've ever done. Man, remember when we could actually eat in front of each other in the room? Oh, my God, that was great. Concessions will be open for this weekend's baseball series against Stanford. It's a huge series, by the way. Oregon controls its own destiny. Should the Ducks play well enough and be fortunate enough to win their next 6 Pac-12 games, the Ducks would be Pac-12 conference champions. Go Ducks, huh? Mark Wasikowski's team sure is playing well right now, and hopefully Concessions being back at PK Park means fans come on out. I understand there are still some tickets left. GoDucks.com. This is a baseball team that is on the verge of doing something really, really special at Oregon. Looks like they're going to host postseason. Might be doing it as champions of the conference, and, man, just having Concessions back will be great. University of Oregon Concessions will be abiding by all safety protocols, and the orders will all be done through the GoDucks app. Yeah. So you can download the GoDucks app via the app store of your choice. There will also be a QR code available at PK Park. So essentially you can either scan that, or you open it in the app, click on the food and beverage option. There will be no cash sales. Customers cannot go to the concession stand and order. Menu will be limited, but at least there's a menu. All items will be single-served and prepackaged. After the order is placed, the customer will be notified when to come pick up the order at the main concession stand behind home plate. It's going to look a little different. But, man, I am so excited to tell you that Concessions are back for Oregon baseball at PK Park this weekend. And for baseball, this is a huge, huge weekend. Ducks are currently sitting at number 13 in the latest RPI that has been updated for today. Arizona is the top Pac-12 team at number 6. Well, their opponent in Stanford sitting at number 18. Huge opportunity for the Ducks from a resume-building standpoint. 6 o'clock on Friday, Oregon baseball. I will have a 5:45 pregame show for you on the Oregon Sports Network, and then 3 o'clock on Saturday and a noon start on Sunday. Big 3-game set coming up. So why does this matter so much, and why am I so excited? Well, Oregon is 17-7 in the Pac-12 right now. Arizona is 19-8. So you'll notice Arizona's played one more series than the Ducks, another 3-game set. Wildcats actually finished their regular season against Dixie State, their bye week in the Pac-12 schedule, because remember, there isn't an even number of Pac-12 teams. Colorado does not have a baseball team, so it's really the Pac-11 when it comes to Oregon baseball and the Pac-12. So what that means is that every week a Pac-12 team has a bye week. Ducks have already had theirs. Arizona has not. The final regular season weekend for the Wildcats will be the bye week. So Arizona's sitting at 19-8. They've got a couple more wins, but they also have one more loss than the Ducks. So if Oregon could take care of business against Stanford, who's currently sitting in third place at 13-8 in Pac-12 play, you like Oregon's chances here down the stretch. And to be honest with you, Cal, Ducks going on the road to Cal to finish the regular season next week. That's a good team. They're 12-12 in Pac-12 play, and they've started to play really good lately. Mark Wasikowski said yesterday that maybe they've got the most pro prospects, particularly on the pitching staff in the conference, which is really saying something. So Oregon, down the stretch, could use a little bit of help, obviously. The Ducks looking to win series. They're probably going to host a regional, projected as one of the top 16 teams in the country right now, which means they would at least host a regional. They want to host a super regional. But this weekend, I think, will determine everything. Here's why. Arizona has to go on the road. Remember, I said they finish against Dixie State in a non-conference series. Arizona has to go on the road to Oregon State this weekend. It's a really tough, to be honest, really tough end of the season for the Beavers up in Corvallis, because their final 2 regular season weekends are against Arizona at home, and then they have to go to Stanford. Oh, man, that's a tough finish for both the Cardinal, playing both the Oregon schools, and the Beavers having to play Arizona and Stanford. Now, I know that this is Duck Insider. We really like talking about when the Ducks beat the Beavs. Oregon baseball went 5-1 against the Beavers this year, by the way. But we're all rooting for Oregon State this weekend. I think if the Beavs are able to knock off Arizona in that weekend series, and if the Ducks take care of business and win the series, they don't have to sweep, just win the series then against Stanford, win the series against Cal, it gives Oregon a little more breathing room on the way to a Pac-12 championship, we hope. So at the end of the day, I'm sitting here saying it sure would help for Oregon State to help out and maybe knock off Arizona. But we all know that the Ducks are just sitting there thinking we just got to win games. Ducks have 6 games left, and they need to win them. On the hunt for a Pac-12 championship, and man, it is awesome. So we'll be scoreboard watching, though, for Arizona and Oregon State. Also a first pitch of 6 o'clock here coming up. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a good finish to the season. Elsewhere, track and field today, it's been announced that the Ducks are sending 61 entries to the NCAA West prelims. That's a lot. Officially announced Thursday morning, the qualifying meet now is a 4-day competition, by the way. It's going to take place May 26th through 29th, so coming up in about a week at E.B. Cushing Stadium in College Station, Texas. The Ducks' 61 entries, 34 for the men, 27 for the women, are spread among 46 individuals and 3 relays. Not including relays, Oregon will have 12 individuals, 7 men, 5 women, competing in 2 events. The list of UO men entered in the 2 events is plentiful, as you can imagine, as the Ducks have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different men that are playing or competing in 2 different events. I say that twice because I think it's actually pretty incredible. Like, there's not a lot of schools that have that sort of depth, and that's what the men have with 7 competing in 2 events, and then 5 again on the women's side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just reading the names, it's amazing. So to mirror the format of the national meet, the preliminary rounds will be contested over 4 days with alternating men's and women's programs. The NCAA East preliminary will take place the same weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. The top 12 finishers in each event advance to the 2021 NCAA championships that, of course, will be held June 9th through 12th right here in Eugene at Hayward Field. Good stuff, man. So congratulations to all of the entries, and now go get it done and earn your right to run back at home at Hayward Field. Also some honors for the Pac-12's coaches and student athletes on the track and field side. Robert Johnson, yet again, the Pac-12 Men's Coach of the Year, as announced Wednesday by the league office. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but a really, truly unprecedented honor for Robert Johnson, the Pac-12 Men's Coach of the Year. And, well, I think you could pretty much guarantee that the Ducks are going to have a Coach of the Year in the Pac-12 at least once, which is just amazing, as it's been truly a consistent level of success for Robert Johnson and the Oregon track and field team. More on that coming up, as Rob Mosley has just connected to us via the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line. Rob was actually just listening to some interviews talking Oregon softball, so before we take our time out, Rob was not listening to interviews that were going on with Oregon softball, which means we will not be asking him about that right now. And instead, we'll take a quick time out. And when we return, the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com is going to join us as we'll cover a number of different sports here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hi, welcome to the Spicy Drive-In. May I take your order?
Can I get the spicy chicken sandwich, please?
The spicy chicken is an excellent choice, sir. And to drink?
Whatever's fine.
Oh, may I make a beverage pairing recommendation this evening?
Sure.
If we are feeling especially bold tonight, sir, I would recommend the Mountain Dew with that. It's bravely unrestrained with a very alive aroma that pairs wonderfully with your spicy chicken. It's followed by a hint of zesty citrus flavor.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I'm sure you already know this, sir, but remember to appreciate the nose first by giving the Mountain Dew a little swirl to relieve volatilize it.
What?
To change the flavor compounds and activate your taste buds to get them fully primed for that chicken sandwich.
It's delicious.
Now you're getting the hang of it. The muscular flavor charge characteristics of Mountain Dew make for an absolutely epic mouthfeel when paired with spicy cuisine. It is quite on point, sir.
Dude, it's a perfect match. Like they were made for each other.
So true, so true.
When you want to make good food bolder and bold food better, do the Dew.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Mac here with you back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. On the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line is one Robert J. Mosley. He's the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. I'm not going to give him an additional business title today because we've already made him a lawyer. And what else did we make you? I can't remember now.
I don't know, but whatever it was, I was not qualified for that either.
Oh, wait, no, I can give you one actually. Rafting expert back from the river this past week, right?
I'm a passenger. I'm an expert passenger on a raft.
Eric Evans is the real expert,
right? I have not been on the sticks yet. My former coworker Andy McNamara is the one who just jumps in and wants to try anything new. And he was for the second trip in a row. By the end, he wanted to be on the sticks as much as possible. So we did the John Day River Sunday through Wednesday, and it was phenomenal. I haven't really explored that part of the state of Oregon, and it was outstanding.
That's awesome. Well, if anybody deserves a little chance to recharge, it's you, Rob. So I'm glad that you were able to do it. Did you ride the bull?
Oh, I don't know what that means.
That's where you go on the front of the raft, and then you got to go through the rapids, and you got to hang on to the front as best you can.
The nice thing about the John Day is, for as spectacular as the scenery is, the water is not. There are no rapids to speak of.
Okay. So it's a leisurely rafting
trip.
You're
just sort of floating along.
Gotcha.
passing the time however you so choose, taking in this amazing scenery.
It's one of my favorite things to do over the summer. I've gone a few different rivers now. I think the most common run is up in Maupin in Central Oregon. That's a very famous one on the Deschutes River. That was the first time I ever rode the bull, and it's still one of the most – one of my friends did it, and let's just say it didn't end well for her, but it was really great for the rest of us to watch her flip over and just go in, and it's one of the best memories I ever have. So this is the rafting world that we're talking about. Rob, let's talk a little bit about track and field before we get to some of the diamond sports with you. I mean, you heard when you logged on there, just talking about Coach Johnson winning yet another Pac-12 honor as a coach of the year. He's won it for the men, he's won it for the women, and the Ducks have 61 entries in the West prelims. I mean, I don't want it to ever be taken for granted that Oregon track and field is just consistently really, really freaking good.
Right. Yeah, I sort of got into this a little bit when Oregon State was making their run in men's basketball, and it was very impressive and just an awesome narrative and story for them, and kind of out of left field, and go from worst to first and make a run in the postseason. But there was some chatter like this might be the most impressive sports story the state of Oregon has ever produced. And I chimed in like, are we just forgetting what Oregon track and field has done? I mean, and we are all potentially guilty of it at times, because, we're so focused on primarily football and then basketball after that and this and that. But, the number of national championships they've won, the elite athletes they've produced, the Olympic gold medalists that program has produced, it's just insane. And I was actually talking with Missy Lombardi recently for the podcast, the Mighty Oregon podcast that came out this week, and she was talking about when she was an assistant in Oklahoma, they had to turn that program into a winner, but then they had to figure out how to stay there. And the consistency of staying at an elite level is much harder. For as hard as it is to build a winner, it's even harder to sustain it. And that's what Oregon track and field does year after year after year after year. And we're all guilty of potentially taking that for granted at times, but that should never be acceptable on any front.
Yeah, I feel like at least once a year, I have this exact conversation with you or with somebody on the show, like, hey, by the way, Oregon track and field just dominated again. Right. It's the fifth time that Coach Johnson's been the men's Pac-12 Coach of the Year. It's just amazing. And I think now it was, and this is going to sound maybe a little bit terrible, and especially for me, Rob, but when there weren't home meets, I think it was even, for lack of a better phrase, easier to sort of take for granted how good they've been, because we didn't see them necessarily in person competing at Hayward Field. Now that Hayward Field is upon us, and we've talked about how glorious it is, I cannot wait for the track and field championships coming up starting June 9th at Hayward Field, because I feel like that's going to, for me, be like all right, everybody, remember how we all talked about with Oregon track and field being really good, and this is a cathedral of track and just all these different things. I feel like it's finally going to maybe come full circle with that whole storyline of the last 3 years.
Yeah, and just to give people a little bit of a break, to give yourself a break, I try to give myself a break too. There are so many moving parts in track and field. There's so many kids involved in so many different disciplines, and so it can hard to kind of. Our brains want simplicity, so it can be hard to kind of sift through all that and try to keep track of all those moving parts and to appreciate them all and to appreciate how they all fit together. When it's not just like one superstar, when Ed Chesrick and Devin Allen, you basically got like two guys, scoring 60 points between them or whatever the math would be at a national meet. It's a little easier to grasp onto than the way it can happen where you have, 12 or 15 people scoring 4 points and 6 points and 3 points and 8 points. But all those moving parts make it even more impressive that Coach Johnson and that program are able to do what they do, because every one of those moving parts is a potential to break down and not achieve up to standard. And yet year after year it happens. So that even makes it, for as tough as that makes it to follow sometimes as fans and media members, it makes it the achievement even more impressive.
Well, to that point, I mean, yesterday, the University of Oregon Athletics Hall of Fame class for 2021 is announced. There's 6 of them in the class. 3 of them are track and field athletes. And I mean, it's just normal, right? Like, it's just normal that even in this, I call this, we're getting into now like the golden era of Oregon athletics, and I would not want to be on that Hall of Fame committee, Rob. I think you and I have kind of joked with that before. Like, that's a tough job to try to figure out who belongs in the Oregon Athletics Hall of Fame. Well, 3 of the ones announced yesterday are track and field athletes, and that's just the norm, that you get that many of them going into the Oregon Athletics Hall of Fame. It is, as William just said, it is called Tracktown USA for good reason.
Exactly. Well, point well taken, William.
Do you, Rob, and you've been around Oregon now most of your professional career, if not, I guess, really all of your professional career. Yeah. So have you ever encountered another fan base that even compares and heralds in comparison to Oregon track and field fans, like just in terms of knowledge and just the history and just all the different things that we talk about with the track and field fan base? That, it's not a football fan base, right? It's not a basketball fan base. It doesn't have necessarily that same national power, for lack of a better phrase, but God, it's a great fan base, right? I mean, have you ever encountered something like it?
I mean, I'm probably the wrong person to answer that because I've been here, the whole time. And you kind of have to be around it a little bit to appreciate it, but it is awesome. And it just, it makes you look forward to even more the times that Hayward, the reimagined Hayward Field is full of people, because they just make it what it is. And for as spectacular as the venue is, they make it what it is. So that's going to be just something. Well, there's so many different things we're looking forward to right now, and that's a big time one of them. Rob
Mosley is the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, on Twitter at GoDucksMosley. Let's talk a little softball, Rob. 4:30 coming up on ESPN3. Jordan Brenner is actually going to talk with us on the show in just a little bit. He's heading out to call it for KWVA on the radio side, on the Oregon Sports Network as well. Softball, I mean, we all know that there's a lot of storylines around this softball selection, going to Texas. We all know that. Rob, at the end of the day, I think Oregon's got a really darn good chance to win this regional, and we might be talking about them again next week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, no doubt about that. I mean, one of the top teams in this small little field at this regional, but you got to take care of business. And, the thing, again, shameless plug for the podcast with Missy Lombardi, but when I got off the river yesterday and got plugged back in and saw what had happened and then read all the various reactions, it just drove home, a big theme of our conversation for the podcast with Coach Lombardi is, regardless of whatever circumstances led to whatever situation you're in, how are you going to make the most out of them and succeed? And it's why you didn't hear a lot of excuse making from her in 2019 when all the roster turnover happened. It's why you haven't heard very much excuse making from her the last couple of years when COVID was happening. And it's why you haven't heard much from her this week about all those outside narratives, because her priority always is, all right, I am now in a situation that I want to come out on top of. How do I do that? And how do we beat this opponent or this set of opponents? And that's her focus. And none of the rest of it is a much concern for her. And that's what's going to pay dividends in a situation like this, is not getting caught up in outside narratives. And so this is, you could argue and results will dictate the merits to this, but you could argue there's no better coach to have at the helm of Oregon softball in this moment than her, because of that, her ability to just block out the noise, not hear it, not hear it. Of course, she's aware of it, but not be affected by it, but still keep her focus and keep her team focused on the task at hand.
I love that. She and I talked on Tuesday, Rob. We usually talk every Tuesday for Duck Insider, and it's like the epitome of the phrase "make lemons out of lemonade" or "make lemonade out of lemons," or maybe you just want to go in both directions there, because you hear people all the time talk about how you can make lemons out of lemonade, because sometimes that's the hand you're dealt. I think that's great. I think that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what this team does, because to be honest, I think that similar to like we talked about with Pac-12 women's basketball and the seeding, I think there's a little bit of a chip on the conference's shoulder right now. And as a fan, I don't know, it's kind of fun to watch that heading into the postseason, see what the Pac-12 can do.
Yeah, and any athlete will tell you they like being in that position where they feel like they're doubted and they got something to prove. And, if that helps you get the most out of yourself, then, even better.
Baseball, by the way, is going to be maybe competing for a Pac-12 championship here down the stretch. Ducks do control their own destiny, even though Arizona's played 3 more games than them. We've been talking about that. I've been breaking it all down. It's fun to have these postseason projections. I mean, Rob, if I told you on February 15th, before the season got started, that the Ducks were going to be within striking distance of a conference championship here on May 20th, That would have been a pretty darn good reaction, I think, for you and me at the beginning of the year, right?
No doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, you hate to cast doubts, particularly from the seats we sit in. But I mean, I think we were thinking, hey, be a postseason team, get yourself to a regional, establish that you're on the right track under Coach Waz and that the future is bright. You don't necessarily think the future's now.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome. It's kind of like the Justin Herbert's rookie year. Yeah, you figured long term he was going to be really good, but you don't want to. You want to be a little careful to get ahead of yourselves a little bit, and then so to have it happen the first year is pretty phenomenal. But it just speaks to again, you want to talk about laser focus. I mean, we've seen and heard that from Coach Waz a lot the last few weeks that even the smallest little breakdown, he hones in on and says, no, we're not going to let a mountain turn into a molehill there. We're going to nip that in the bud because we've got our sights set on being elite. And when you're elite, you set a certain standard and you play to a certain standard. And that's what they've been doing all year.
Well, to that point, keep your eyes out for a mic'd up segment with Coach Waz. Actually, Scott filmed it yesterday at practice.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. That's a perfect reaction from Mose because I've been around Coach Waz a lot. I've had the privilege of knowing him when he was an assistant in Oregon and working with him, and now working with him here. He is one of the most intense human beings you will ever meet, and his practices are as we heard Kenyon Yovan talk about this week. You'll hear it on the show actually when we do our preview of the Stanford series tomorrow. There's a certain level of focus there. Rob, what are you doing this week? You just hanging out PK Park the whole weekend? What's the plan?
I think that's the plan. Yeah,
nice.
Take in some baseball. When you've got first place in the conference race on the line, what could be better?
I'm with you. And then in the beauty of modern technology, and I know Rob well, he'll have a hockey game here, he'll have a softball game here, he'll have a stat tracker for women's golf in the national championships here.
Right.
What am I missing?
Oh, by the way, we got Dylan Brooks and Jordan Bell head-to-head tomorrow. We've got Sab and Ruthie head-to-head Sunday. So we got our pro ducks. Aaron Wise is killing it right now. Tied for the lead at last check. So the alums are giving us a lot to track as well. So it's a tough job if you can get it.
PGA Championships going on, and then the play-in for NBA basketball, and Spring Ionescu got a triple-double, just the youngest player in history of WNBA ever to do it. Are you surprised by that?
That's one where, with all due respect to all the other things I talked about, I'm not. She's just on another level of competitor, and as soon as she established, I watched her first game. I didn't miss it. I was on the river for the triple-double game, but the first game where she hits the game winner. It seemed like it was a big hey, where's she going to be at? She was going to be put in the work as soon as she got healthy from the injury last year. But when did she get healthy? When was she start getting able to bank the reps to get all the way back? And when she started, it seemed like the first quarter she's a little tentative and was like, all right, maybe she hasn't logged as much practice time as she'll have under her belt later in the year. And then by the second quarter, it's like, oh. Nope, she's fine.
Yep.
And then she hits the winner. It's like, of course she hit the winner.
Yeah.
And then I saw she got the triple-double. I was like, of course she got the triple-double. And it's just she's on our Mount Rushmore for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Rob Mosley, the editor-in-chief, GoDucks.com. Rob, thanks for always taking the time. Next week, you're going to be talking with a fellow Dodgers fan for your regular Wednesday appearance when we go back to the regular slot, because Stimson's filling in for me while I travel to Cal, unless you're going to be coming to Berkeley for maybe a Pac-12 championship, huh?
Contractually, will we have to talk about Oregon stuff, or can we just talk about the Dodgers?
I think, really, I'm totally leaving that up to you guys. You guys both get paid by the U of O. So you figure that out. I just want to point out, Stimson also works for a Giants affiliate who happens to be the Eugene Emeralds. So,
are
you going to go to any Ems games, or are you boycotting now?
The psychology of that, I don't know how this is going to haunt him he's going to be in therapy in his 70s trying to work through the emotions he must be experiencing right now.
Don't miss next Wednesday when Alex Stimson and Rob Mosley talk Dodgers and M's and I don't know what else. Rob, thanks for always taking the time. Thanks for what you do, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Talk to you later.
He's the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com. His byline, of course, all his work, GoDucks.com. Product schedule. Good plug by Rob. Also, Mighty Oregon podcast. When we come back, some of those honors for track and field and men's golf season, unfortunately, coming to a close. Also, full softball postseason preview with Jordan Brenner in just a bit on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
It's important to buckle up your kids.
I know.
Sometimes car seats can be complicated.
I know.
And if your child's in the wrong seat and you get into a crash,
I know.
It could lead to a serious injury.
I know.
So you're 100% sure you have the right car seat for your child's age and size?
I don't know.
Don't think you know. Know you know. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Make sure you have the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. We were talking earlier about the honors for track and field and just how great they've been. Well, it's the 5th time that Robert Johnson has been the Pac-12 Men's Coach of the Year. As Oregon ran away with the team title in the 2021 Pac-12 Championships, a meet record 185 points. That surpassed the previous high of 180 points set by USC in 1976. And the Ducks had just a ridiculous amount of depth. They scored... well, pretty much in every event is what's really amazing about it. The Ducks scored double-digit points in 10 events and had champions at 1,500, 5,000, 3,000-meter steeple, and the decathlon. In addition, though, to Robert Johnson, the Ducks also had the Freshman of the Year on the Pac-12 women's side, which is pretty darn cool, as Alyssa Hickey was named the Freshman of the Year for her victory in the long jump. The 4th UO woman to win Conference Freshman of the Year accolades, joining the short list featuring English Gardner, pretty good, Jenna Prandini, pretty good, and Ariana Washington, pretty good. So congratulations to Alyssa Hickey and her success. Counted for the 16 points at the Pac-12 Championships by her way of the victory in the long jump. Also a 3rd-place finish in the high jump. Congratulations to the Freshman of the Year on the women's side in track and field, Alyssa Hickey. I wish I was telling you some better news for Oregon men's golf, but unfortunately Casey Martin's team saw its season come to an end after finishing 10th in their regional following a 17-over final round on Wednesday. And the Ducks, look, Casey Martin... never going to beat around the bush. He said, quote, "Tough final 2 days. I really felt like we were going to play well, but the course and conditions were a bit too much. I'm disappointed with the outcome, but also excited for these guys and the future." The Ducks do have a lot of newcomers on this roster, and I think they're going to be pretty darn good when Oregon's roster reloads here heading into next season. All right, it's a quick segment because of quick timeout, and when we return, Jordan Brenner, the voice of Oregon softball, will join us because we've got postseason to talk about on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hi, it's Jan from Toyota. Summer's finally here, and with a great deal on a new Camry, RAV4, Highlander, Tacoma, and more, you can celebrate all of your favorite summer holidays, like Cinco de Mayo, Independence Day, International Pizza Party Day. Pepperoni, please. And by pepperoni, I mean Hawaiian.
Kick off summer at your Toyota dealer, where you can save big on all your favorites. This event ends June 1st. See your participating Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Learfield IMG College.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Everybody buckle up. Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom,
buckle
can we get
up.
some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Presented by On Point Community Credit Union, live from the Country Financial Studio. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to talk with the voice of Oregon softball, Jordan Brenner. He does a tremendous job. He and the entire crew at KWVA. If you missed our announcement earlier, we'll be partnering with them for the Oregon softball broadcast on the radio side this year. You'll be able to tune in via all the normal ways you would on the Oregon Sports Network with the GoDucks app, goducks.com/live audio. Also, some of our Oregon Sports Network stations around the state will be picking up the KWVA broadcast. Student radio station does a tremendous job. And he's been the voice of Oregon softball. Jordan has now for, well, as we discuss here, you'll hear a little more than a year. And it feels like, though, maybe it's been longer than that. Jordan Brenner and his crew with a 4:15 pregame show on KWVA 88.1 FM if you're listening on the radio in Eugene. And then, of course, all the various digital ways to tune in across the Oregon Sports Network. You'll be able to listen to the radio call with a 4:15 pregame show and a 4:30 first pitch when Oregon plays Texas State tomorrow. Our conversation with Jordan Brenner yesterday. It's the best time of year for me because it's postseason, and it's also an opportunity for us to introduce you all. For those of you who don't know, this is Jordan Brenner. He's a sports director at KWVA. That's right. Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause.
I don't know. I don't think I deserve that.
Scott was ready for it, though. That was good.
Thanks, Scott.
Jordan is the sports director at KWVA. That's a position that I held seemingly too long ago. 2014 was the last time I was there. So essentially, you're in charge of the student radio station sports department.
Yes.
That's how I got my start. I obviously have a very special place in my heart for KWVA. That's why I'm so excited to partner with you guys officially. We've sort of always had the unofficial partnership, I guess, would be the way that I describe it, from Oregon Sports Network to KWVA. But for those of you who are unaware, KWVA does broadcast for softball, lacrosse, soccer, volleyball, football as well when you're not listening to Jerry and Jorgie. I don't know how often that happens, but it does happen. But I think it's important to note, though, you guys do a lot. Local high school, football, basketball as well. Not to mention another college that happens to be in town. Did I miss anything for what happens at KWVA?
I think you've covered it. We do a nightly sports talk show as well, Quacks Mac. Yeah. You're a frequent guest.
It's a good spot.
You're kind of like the godfather of KWVA sports.
No, that's got to belong to Colin Deaver. That's got to belong to Colin Deaver. Colin Deaver was the sports director when I was just getting to campus, and Colin's now been a very successful sports anchor on TV for a long time.
Well, at the very least, you're on the Mount Rushmore.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. But I think that Mount Rushmore has chiseled a few of us old guys off. And I guess I should say John Strong is probably really the godfather of KWVA.
Yeah.
John's
sure.
John's the OG. The voice of American soccer, for crying out loud, is probably the OG on the Mount Rushmore. All right, well, Jordan already knows this because he's heard me do this to a lot of people, but you have to tell your 2-minute live story. It's the first time that you've been on Duck Insider. You're getting ready for softball broadcast coming up. They've got the softball postseason, 4:30 on Friday. 2-minute live story. The timer's on. Go.
Okay. Hi. I'm looking at this camera over here.
That camera.
That camera right over there. My name is Jordan Brenner. I am a senior in college, about 4 weeks away from graduation. I'm the sports director of KWVA Radio. I am from Los Angeles, California.
Like
Joe,
actually L.A.?
Well, come on. We're 30 minutes from Beverly. This is my 2 minutes.
Okay.
This is my 2 minutes here. Sports guy. Like any broadcaster who gets into it as early as college, Joey, there was a clear athletic peak for me. That being said, I take a lot of pride in being the junior varsity flag football quarterback in 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
We're talking about 20 touchdowns, a lot more interceptions.
That's great.
They stopped counting at a certain point, I think the parents
that's
said.
Great.
High school golfer in 10th grade picked up a rock out of a sand trap in the city championship. 2-stroke penalty, missed the cut by 1. And even though the next year I come back, I won the league at 72 at the easiest golf course in Southern California.
You're so self-depreciating.
It was a clear peak to the athletic career for me.
All right.
So I had a look in the mirror moment. Broadcasting was for me. I was the kid who called the wiffle baseball games in the backyard, wiffle golf games. I come from a wiffle family, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, I always had my eye on Oregon. Grew up a Pac-12 fan, grew up a Cal fan. But, I mean, the passion here, the dominance of these teams, the depth of this program called to me. And here I am, the voice of Oregon softball, thrilled that I've been able to call this team and ready for hopefully a long postseason run.
That was a minute 45. Pretty good.
That's not on the leaderboard, though.
You're close. You'd be surprised. We get a lot of 30 seconds, 2-minute live stories. So, yeah, that was great. Jordan Brenner joining us. So Jordan's going to have the call coming up for Oregon softball. He's called softball now, 2 years, really, I think, is safe to say, right?
2.2,
Yeah.
2.25.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm at 1.25, I should say, actually.
Well, but really, I mean, it feels like more than that, though. I mean, right? It feels like more than that. So,
yeah.
All right. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is just you a little bit, because fans have listened to you. I've heard so many great compliments. You deserve every single one of them. Many of you have heard him not only on KWVA but on the live streams as well, produced by the Quack Video crew. He and his crew do such a great job. Who did you listen to growing up, and who kind of inspired the broadcasting side? And then part two, how the heck were you a Cal fan in L.A.?
Dad went to Cal.
All right.
Sister went to Cal. Uncle went to Cal.
Okay.
So that's the connection there. Grew up in Los Angeles, so Vin Scully growing up. Since his retirement, I'm a huge fan of John Miller, actually. He's got the velvety pipes.
Yeah.
I'm actually a Washington Nationals baseball fan.
How?
We don't have all day. We don't need to
At least you're not a Dodgers fan. So Jerry Allen, get your hands off.
So Scully. I listen to the Nationals guys. Charlie Slows is fantastic.
He's good.
He's one of my favorites. And then, my dad's a lifelong Laker fan, so I'm a Laker fan. So at least I heard clips of Chick Hearn growing up. And you listen to Scully, Chick Hearn, Miller. How could you not be a broadcaster at that point? Yeah.
But Lakers.
Yeah, it's a big game tonight.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about that. Jordan Brenner's our guest. He's the sports director at KWVA, voice of Oregon softball, getting ready for a 4:30 first pitch. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this team. Let's start with the obvious question. What was your reaction on Selection Sunday? Did your eyebrows go up as high as mine did? Because I'm not sure I still have eyebrows after how high they went.
I had to spring into action. I'll tell you what, we drove back from Berkeley that day.
Yeah.
So 8 hours on the road. And I'm finally home, ready for the Selection Sunday. It felt like it was a moment to celebrate the program. They finished on a strong note, right? 6-2 in their last 2 weekends, a sweep at Cal, winning the conference series against Arizona. I was ready to celebrate this team. And then you see they show up in that Texas regional. I was kind of like shocked. Okay, let's figure out travel. Let's figure out coordinating. Let's get on chart. So I was definitely surprised, as I'm sure a lot of people were, at that decision. But Joey, let me tell you, while there was shock and disappointment from Oregon, let me tell you what. I think the people in Austin, Texas right now, I think the Texas Longhorns, I don't think, they probably didn't expect to be hosting, but it's not like they're drooling at this draw right now.
Yeah,
I think
Oregon's a good team.
Yeah. There are teams going in opposite directions right now, too, is something I'll add.
Texas, that would be the second opponent if everything goes chalk for the Ducks. It would be on Saturday morning. By the way, that broadcast you'll be able to hear thanks to Jordan. So the broadcast nuts and bolts before we talk about the matchup with Texas State, which also has an Oregon connection, by the way. It's basically the Oregon regional
That's right.
Coaching connection. Yeah, but I don't know how that happens, but it does. Jordan's going to have the call not only on KWVA for all of you fans that are used to hearing him on the radio on KWVA and 88.1 FM here in Eugene, but also we're going to put it on the distribution network for the Oregon Sports Network. That means the Oregon softball team now has a tune-in channel. The Oregon softball broadcast will be on goducks.com/live audio and on the GoDucks app. So thanks for doing this. I love that we're going to be able to do this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Texas State, what's the report? What's the research tell you about Texas State? Because that's the first opponent, 4:30 with a 4:15 pregame show on Friday.
Yeah, deep pitching staff. They throw it well, Joey, and there have been moments this year where they have competed with some of the best teams in that area of the country. They played Texas really tough this year, and they hit some home runs, too. They have 3 hitters who hit, I think they have double-digit home runs. So you keep them in the yard, and you scrape across a couple runs against that tough pitching staff, which is, I think, a style that Oregon is comfortable playing.
Sure.
I think they'll be okay.
Did you expect at the beginning of the year for Oregon to be in a position like this at the end of the year? I mean, what was your expectation beginning of the season? What was your expectation now? Or I guess, how does it compare to your expectation now?
Well, there were a lot of questions going into the year, right? Yeah. I mean, Brooke Yanez is absolutely dominant. We know that now, but she hadn't done it at the Pac-12 level. Yeah. We didn't know that. So as far as expectations, I think really the only expectation going in for me was that they play better than they did in 2019. And
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned, they have exceeded that expectation. And Coach Lombardi has talked about this a lot this year. And even after the disappointing selection Sunday, this team's ready to prove it in the postseason. There are a lot of really talented players who came here to Oregon looking forward to the opportunity to play in the postseason. And the fact that we're now a few days away from that deserves to be celebrated as far as I'm concerned.
Jordan Brenner is the voice of Oregon softball. Broadcast coming up this weekend and the entire postseason run that we're hoping. I hope you're going to be on the road for like another 3 weeks.
My schedule's all cleared up.
Is that a benefit of Zoom school?
I guess so. I mean, I'm planning on going to class Friday morning from Austin, Texas. Something. I'll figure it out.
This is the modern world that we live in. Do you think that the Pac-12 has a massive chip on its shoulder in this postseason, and how successful do you think the Pac-12 will be in the regional round and moving forward?
Well, I hate to be a pessimist. I agree that they have a chip on their shoulder. I will also say it feels in a way like the NCAA covered their bases and put a cap on how well the Pac-12 can do, right? Yeah. The number 2 team, everybody thought in the Pac-12 was Washington. They're given a death sentence in the super regional round, going to travel and play Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Arizona State and UCLA, 2 teams I think who have the talent to play in the Women's College World Series. I mean, Maddie Hackbarth might be the best hitter in the Pac-12 from Arizona State. They're going to play each other in the super regional round. That automatically eliminates a Pac-12
It's like when
team.
Oregon played UCLA here, and it looked like there were probably 2 Women's College World Series teams, and they got matched up with super regionals. It sucks.
Oregon, I will say, though they're on the road, though they didn't get a fortunate draw, if you're looking at the long view with their potential path, I think Texas and Oregon, I would actually say on paper Oregon's a little bit better than Texas. Turns more 50-50 if you're playing at an Austin regional. That's a winnable round for the Ducks. And then down the road, traveling to Oklahoma State. I mean, we saw Oklahoma State play at the Jane. It's not like those teams are in completely different universes at all. I think Oregon, there's reason to be excited. There's reason to be optimistic entering the postseason.
The Ducks are are the 10th ranked team in the polls. And, so I think that just tells you that there's a lot of respect for what Coach Lombardi has done. I guess for you, Jordan, you've seen a lot of Oregon softball.
Yeah.
You've talked with Coach Lombardi every week. What are the keys to victory? I mean, what's it going to take for Oregon to go on a deep postseason run here?
I think Brooke Yanez is the first key. And Well, the version we've seen of her the last couple weeks gets me excited.
Yeah.
Back-to-back Pac-12 pitchers of the week. Only 2 earned runs her last 2 weekends against 2 good offenses, particularly Arizona entered that weekend as the #1 offense in the Pac-12. And just think about what Brooke Yanez brings to the table, Joey, right? Not only is she an elite arm, she's an elite left-handed pitcher. That's a first-team All-Pac-12 left-handed pitcher. Think about some of the other best pitchers in the Pac-12. Garcia, a righty. Faremo, a righty. Votto, a righty. Masson is a righty. Gabby Plain is a righty. Brooke Yanez, to me, is without argument the best left-handed pitcher in the Pac-12 conference.
I would agree.
And Texas is a lineup that, depending on the day, they're going to bring 4 or 5 left-handed hitters to the lineup, or they're going to start 4 or 5 left-handed hitters. What has Brooke Yanez done against lefty-heavy orders this year? 2 wins against UCLA. Dominant. The national pitcher of the week against Arizona. That's another lefty-heavy lineup. So Brooke Yanez this weekend is absolutely a key. And if Haley Cruz keeps hitting, if Allie Bunker keeps hitting, and I mean, Rachel Sid caught fire last weekend with 7 hits.
That's the X factor.
If you can get 3 hitters swinging it well entering the weekend, I think Oregon's got a really good chance.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think Rachel Sid's the true X factor. You know, we've seen how talented she is, and you know, Haley Cruz. Coach Lombardi said it on Tuesday on Duck Insider that Haley Cruz is just a senior on a mission. You know, I think you're seeing that a little bit. I mean, we've heard that a time or two from Coach Lombardi, but I'm with you. You know, I also will say I think this is always true in the postseason. I think that in the diamond sports in particular, defense is something that is so undervalued, and it's sort of like special teams in football where you only want to talk about defense if something goes really, really great and they make a great play. But when defense comes up, it's often like, oh, man, there was an error on the field, right?
Yeah.
I think defense is always a huge key in the postseason. The teams that don't make mistakes are usually the ones that win. So I'm going to throw that at you, and we'll see. Ducks have 2 middle infielders on the all-defensive team.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, and Allie Bunker, Alyssa Burrito, 2 of the best at their position in the Pac-12, but let's not, you know, sniff at what Rachel Sid can do defensively. There were 3 different times in that Arizona series where Mike Candrea asked one of his talented hitters to put down a sacrifice bunt. Rachel Sid just completely takes that option away from you. She's sensational at the hot corner. And in games like this, Texas with O'Leary throws it well, Texas State throws it well. You're right. One mistake defensively could be the difference and could send you home packing.
He's Jordan Brenner. He's the voice of Oregon softball. He's on the road this weekend, and hopefully we're going to keep him on the road out in Oklahoma. So what if the Ducks end up getting to Oklahoma State, you just stay out there and do school from Oklahoma? Okay.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, come back, go through the travel process once again.
Once again, yeah. Hey, I've been there. Welcome to the broadcast business, my friend.
Hey, there is nothing I'd rather do than come back and then plan another trip.
I love it. He's Jordan Brenner. His crew, you can find him on Twitter at KWVA Sports. Of course, the home of Oregon softball all season long, and now we're just getting to go along for the ride with them, which is going to be a lot of fun. Jordan, safe travels. Here's to a great broadcast, and here's to 3 quick victories.
Absolutely. Joey, thanks so much for having me on.
I like run rule victories particularly. Those are always fun for the Ducks. That's coming up. Jordan will have the call. 4:15 pregame show on the Oregon Sports Network. You can find all the info on the Oregon softball schedule page where to tune in as well, because the Ducks taking on Texas State and then hopefully taking on a few other teams in that Austin regional. I think Oregon's got a great chance to win it. I really think Oregon's got a great chance to win it. Coming up, we'll wrap up the show. A look ahead to the weekend schedule and a busy show on your docket for tomorrow that you can get ready for. We got more coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
On March 5th, 2021, we lost a larger-than-life member of the Oregon Ducks family. Chris Bjork passed away surrounded by his wife Allison and their 3 sons, Anders, Henry, and Jordy. After spending more than 26 years working with the University of Oregon, we are proud to establish the Chris Bjork Scholarship Fund in his honor. Go to goducks.com/Bjork Scholarship. That's goducks.com/Bjork Scholarship to make a contribution and help us remember a great Duck.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, and we're inside the Country Financial Studio. I'm really looking forward to this weekend for a number of different reasons. You got Oregon softball in the postseason. You got Oregon baseball heading toward the postseason. Not to mention, you've got Oregon women's golf competing in the national championships that begin tomorrow. Derek Radley and his squad, good luck to them. And a lot more other things going on from the Products calendar that you can find on goducks.com. This week's Women's Sports Schedule Spotlight, always brought to you by Toyota. Anytime we highlight the various schedules for the Oregon women's programs, it's all thanks to our friends at Toyota. Well, the Ducks, for Derek Radley's squad, they are traveling to Scottsdale, Arizona. They got there yesterday, and the Ducks will compete in the NCAA championships beginning tomorrow. It's going to span multiple days, so we'll be tracking it on the Oregon women's golf social media Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's actually then going to continue into next week. We'll be talking with them really up until Wednesday is when things wrap up, because remember, there's the team portion, then there's also an individual portion, and it's a big undertaking. I remember when it was hosted here at Eugene Country Club, 5 years ago now, and man, it's amazing to think about. That's your Toyota Women's Sports Schedule Spotlight. Toyota, let's go places. Today's show is also brought to you by North Fork Public House. Open for dine-in and takeout right now. NorthForkEugene.com. Elsewhere, talking about food, Oregon baseball this weekend. It is senior weekend, though. Tomorrow, you're going to hear from Kenyon Yovan and Nico Telashe, a couple guys that have been here for 5 years with this Oregon baseball program. We're going to do a full preview of Oregon baseball against Stanford and also a little bit of a look back on some of their careers and some of their great moments at PK Park. Gabe Matthews among the guys who just is continuing to set records left and right. Kenyon Yovan talked to the media, and he talked about for 11 minutes. Is that right, Scott? Yeah, we took the greatest hits of what Kenyon had to say, and it was still about 12 minutes long. You're not going to want to miss it. These are guys that have been through the wars with Oregon baseball, coaching change, some seasons that didn't go as well as they would have liked, and then now they're hunting for a Pac-12 championship, and they are in the running to host a regional, maybe a super regional if they're lucky enough to continue moving forward. But really, I think lucky enough is the wrong phrase. It's make your own luck. If the Ducks keep winning, they're going to make their own luck. Concessions will be open at PK Park this weekend. There are still very limited tickets available. Go to goducks.com, and it's senior weekend. How about a Pac-12 series sweep on senior weekend? We'll preview Oregon baseball in depth tomorrow. See you then.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart savings strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away